This video is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Hey guys, how's it going? It's Dudey here. I am back with another video. This video really piqued my intrigue. I've been doing a lot of research this week on experiments and stuff. Every now and then I'd see the odd article on Nazi zombies or Nazi super soldiers and things like that, and I thought, well, I mean, let's maybe have a little delve into it, and oh my goodness, what have I found? So the question I'm asking today is, is it possible that the Nazi party were looking into the concept of a Nazi zombie? And when I say Nazi zombie, I mean like reanimating the dead or creating an unkillable soldier. And if you're thinking about it logically, from the perspective of a man, Hitler, who wanted a 1,000-year reich, if you make your army unkillable or find the answer to reviving your army, you have a self-sustaining, replenishing army at your fingertips, right? And also, this is the Nazi party we're talking about. These guys had no morals, no ethics to stop them from venturing into territory that maybe we should never go into. So obviously, to a normal human being, this seems illogical and wrong. However, this is the Nazis that we're talking about. When I began to scratch away at the surface, I uncovered that the Nazis were doing some really bizarre stuff. Some of the things that they were up to almost come across like fiction. In fact, they were in fiction. Indiana Jones and the Ark of the Covenant, you know, the Nazis trying to find the Ark of the Covenant, the Nazis trying to get the Holy Grail. That was based in truth. They actually tried to get the Ark of the Covenant. They actually tried to find the Holy Grail. Heinrich Himmler, Hitler's second-hand man, the architect behind the Holocaust, also had this bizarre fascination with the mystical and the supernatural, the paranormal, and of course, the Aryan race. This man believed that the Aryan race, with direct descendants of Nordic gods, had powers like telepathy, telekinesis, and even flight. And he believed, as did Hitler, that the German race were the purest descendants of this fictional Aryan race that they literally believed descended from gods themselves. Heinrich Himmler established a group known as, let me just read my notes, the Ahnenerbe, which translates to inheritance of the forefathers. Hitler quickly got on board with this and expanded the group exponentially by ploughing millions of currency into this program, millions into expeditions and research. They were so bizarre. The SS headquarters in Wolfsburg, which was a castle, that was also where this inheritance of the forefathers were based, and they would do incantations, ritualistic ceremonies, right? They based themselves off of the Arthurian legend, the Knights of the Round Table. They had their own SS Knights of the Round Table. Magical powers were invoked, astrology was involved, as were psychics. These astrologists and psychics were employed within the ranks of the SS and this inheritance of the forefathers to plot attacks and come up with tactics based around the alignment of the stars. This cult section of the Nazi party had a very heavy belief in psychic ability. They even had training programs where they tried to create psychic assassins because they believed if they were successful, they would have this team of assassins that could take out their enemies just with their minds. This all actually happened, guys. There is a wacky, insane, bizarre element of the Nazi party that I had no fucking clue about. And it all stems from this heavy belief in the Aryan race being these psychic, superhuman descendants of Nordic gods. These Nazi expeditions took them all over the world. It took them to Tibet, where they tried to find the last bastion of pure Aryan race. And also, as a side note, randomly when they went to Tibet, also tried to discover the Yeti, also known as the Abominable Snowman. But at this point, that's probably the least of the bizarre shit they were up to. They went over to Ethiopia to try and find the Ark of the Covenant, much like in the Indiana Jones film. They wanted to steal the Spear of Destiny, which was used by the Roman guard to pierce the side inside of Jesus when Jesus was on the cross. This Spear of Destiny was on display amongst the crown jewels of the Holy Roman Emperor. The Germans actually successfully got the Spear of Destiny, placed it in a vault in Nuremberg, and it was actually stolen at the end of the war, and still to this day no one knows where it is. It's probably on the black market somewhere or somewhere in some billionaire's man cave. They also went to Languedoc to try and find the Holy Grail. All sorts of expeditions to try and get all of this massive array of relics to either empower the Nazi army going forward or to reinforce this propaganda that they are the purest descendants of this fictional Aryan race. The craziest of all of this for me is when they tried to crack the secret code of this Icelandic saga, the Edas. Many Nazi officials believed, Hitler included, that in Iceland there was a secret code that could be cracked which would open up a portal to a type of Middle Earth called the magical land of Thule, Thule. This place was filled with telepathic giants, monsters, and even fairies. I'm not making this up, guys. This is in the fucking history books, man. Because they believed that in this magical world of Thule is where the Aryan people originated. So if they could find the origin of the Aryan people, they'd be able to unlock the secrets and be able to become telepathic and telekinetic and have the ability of flight again. And also, if you find the origin in their theory, you could then speed up the breeding process to bring the pure Aryan race back. Now, on April 28th, 1945, at a munitions depot in Bernardsrode, 40,000 tons of ammunition was found in a mine shaft. A team of American soldiers were just looking around. They saw a weird wall. It was like a brick wall that had been painted over to look like the rest of the mine shaft. So they smashed through it, 5 feet thick, and they found a chamber containing several vaults. Now, some of these vaults had, you know, Nazi memorabilia, flags, uniforms, stolen books, artifacts, paintings, things like that. But there was another chamber that contained 4 massive coffins. One contained the remains of the 17th century Prussian king, Frederick the Great, another containing Field Marshal von Hindenburg, the other containing his wife, and a 4th that was empty, simply a plaque engraved Adolf Hitler. Now, obviously, Adolf Hitler allegedly shot himself towards the tail end of the war and then his remains were burnt. However, it is believed that actually he fled to South America, much like the majority of the higher-ups within the Nazi party. Clearly, the intention when Hitler passed on was to be buried in this coffin in this secret vault. Now, why on earth would his remains be hidden? It was never clear what the intentions for the bodies were, but there's an article from a 1950 Life magazine, and the writer speculated that they were to be concealed until some future Nazi-like movement with their reappearance would inspire the Nazis to rise again and conquer. However, the specific use of the word rise again and conquer, read by hundreds of thousands of people, could be looked at literally or metaphorically as risen from the dead, or it could have just been misconstrued, a bit like Chinese whispers, until you get to the point where rise and conquer, rise again, and maybe that's where the origin of the Nazi zombie thing came from. However, combining the fact that they had a hidden vault for Hitler specifically, as well as the gruesome, unspeakable experiments that the Nazi party were doing, it's not a stretch to think that they could have been trying to reanimate corpses. This is why. As we know, there were many experiments carried out on countless innocent victims in concentration camps. A lot of these tests were done around survival, pushing the human body in many different areas to its absolute limit to discover the point of which death happens, or to bring back from that point. For example, they were placing prisoners in low pressure chambers to replicate flying at high altitude so they could discover how to push their own pilots to the limit without having them die. The infamous experiments at Dachau, where they were inducing hypothermia to discover at what temperature the human body would fail and how best to resuscitate a nearly frozen body. Think cryogenics, things like that. The disease and surgical testing, injecting victims with the worst imaginable diseases and then trying new unfounded vaccines to try and prevent them. Bone grafting without anaesthetic, and interestingly there was reports of a battalion of American soldiers that stumbled upon a science lab where they discovered prisoners from the Soviet army had certain bone structures recreated with metal. They apparently found a body which had part of the rib cage recreated using metal. Now it is believed that the Russian army were doing tests on this years prior, a decade prior to when the Nazi facility was discovered. But is it possible that the Nazis cottoned on to what the Russians were doing and then tried to mimic it, tried to adopt it themselves? You know, replacing bone with metal in theory would be better for your soldiers, right? I think there's no doubt, looking at the evidence of the experiments that they were doing, as fucking disgraceful and disgusting as they were, and they should never ever be repeated. There does seem to be a mild pattern throughout on discovering how to preserve life in the most extreme cases. Because they had that abhorrent freedom to do that, because they had no ethics, they had no morals, they could put in place these tests to see how far the human body could be pushed. Is it that far out of the bounds of reality to imagine that maybe somewhere in Nazi-occupied territory there was a lab trying to discover how to reanimate corpses to create a Nazi zombie? Looking at everything that they've done, I can't imagine that that wasn't at least on their minds, you know. And the super soldier stuff, they definitely did. They created a drug in 1944 known as D-IX. It contained cocaine, it contained a stimulant called pervitin, and a painkiller called Equidol. The results were dramatic. It was insane. They gave prisoners 20 kilos of equipment and made them march for as long as they could. These prisoners, without stopping, marched for 90 kilometers. So the super soldier stuff, they got close to creating. To get someone to march non-stop for 90 kilometers a day is ridiculous. And the only reason that didn't then go out to everyone in the field was because months later the Allied forces won the war, so there was a stop put to that. But yeah, it's my belief that they were definitely trying to create the super soldier. It would make sense if they were trying to create a way to make their soldiers unkillable, or a way to reanimate them. I'd love to know what you guys think. This was certainly a rabbit hole to jump down, guys. I had no idea of all like the mystic arts and stuff that they were trying to get into, and the fact that, you know, they thought they could make a psychic assassin. They would definitely think they could make an undead soldier, right? Surely. Let me know what you guys think. I would love to know. As I said, this video is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Thank you for sponsoring the video, guys. If you want to protect all your data, your videos, your passwords, your photos, the cloud, all that good stuff, and maybe you want to catch some US Netflix, get yourself ExpressVPN. Go to the link down below. It's expressvpn.com/Dudey. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. The growth on this channel has been absolutely insane. I'm hoping to hit 50k by the end of this week. Fingers crossed. You can help me by sharing, by liking and subscribing. Cheers, guys. I will see you very soon. All the links are down below. Have a great weekend. Sweet one, geese.